Hi, Nicholas here with Sigma World, and with me is the Zerafa team, Omar Zerafa and Nicole Debrincat. You're very welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having us.
Hi, good morning. Thank
Hi,
you.
Doctor. Hi. You guys are masters experts weaving the web on fintech, and basically the law surrounding it, right?
Yes, so basically that's what we're trying to do. Yes, I think he's no better expert than I am.
Yeah, so essentially we started as a financial services firm. We moved into fintech, and obviously now we're trying to bridge fintech with the gaming industry as well.
Okay, so fintech, blockchain is, well, it's a segment of fintech. It maybe purports to be something more than that in some ways. And this is an area in which you guys have paid particular strong attention, and you're leading the way there, right?
Yes. Essentially, we've been there for the past 3 years, and we're one of the main firms that focus on this industry. We're seeing a lot of interest even from the gaming industry now. Why? Because they're seeing demand to have payments in crypto, which obviously has legal repercussions as well, both from an AML perspective and also from a regulatory perspective.
Right. So 3 years ago, so you guys got caught up in the blockchain island, and but not so much caught up with. We had 300 companies which were intent on coming here and signed up and wanted to show the face. We had issues as a country, meaning we couldn't really promote to bring them in. Things are changing now. Is that right?
Yes, things are changing. I believe a lot still in the industry. However, it's a different industry than that we were sort of envisaging that will happen. The reason is that now we have MiCA, which is a European harmonized regime, and obviously this will make the blockchain industry stronger. We've seen the recent turmoil in the industry, and that will all be hopefully prevented by stronger European regulation.
And one thing where Malta has been, I guess, at the lead are our data scientists, our technologists, our blockchain task force. They've been developing this idea of the sandbox environment, in particular for AI tools, but also what is this regulatory sandbox?
Yes, a regulatory sandbox is essentially a way how you can test your environment, how you can test something, an idea that is a bit innovative, that doesn't really fit black and white into a regulatory form. And it's a bit of a unique opportunity. Why? Because operators can operate within this silo, sort of. They're closely monitored by the authorities. Even the authority can sort of learn from this experience, and ultimately the end result is growth, both for the industry player and also for the regulator itself, because they learn something new from tech people, from people who are implementing something innovative, which ultimately is then transposed into regulation.
Sure. Is this theory at the moment, or has the sandbox actually been used to date?
Well, I mean, the sandbox has been one of the most. I think it's attractive for many businesses, and that's why Malta is. Well, that's where Sigma is in Malta in the in the first place. So, I think it's important for both the Maltese economy, but for the gaming industry as a whole. It's a very important part, and even the MGA, we're seeing there's an interest in making it bigger and better, and maybe even having an entire regulation for it specifically. So,
You talk about crypto payments within the gaming sector, but beyond that itself, it was there were a number of companies set up. It was believed, or it was led, and we do see some traction where gaming is perhaps maybe the killer application for blockchain. The gaming companies, have you seen a lot with people where their own tokens, etc. What are your thoughts around this aspect?
Yes. Well, what we're seeing is that traditionally gaming companies were not sort of synchronized with the blockchain and the crypto world, but now we're at a point where, because of the investors and because of their clients, the market, they have to look for more blockchain-friendly solution, and that's why we saw sort of scope for our services as well. So that's where we believe we can add value.
The 2020-2021 buzzword has been metaverse. And this it's not Zuckerberg's metaverse. It's going to be hopefully a web of different companies all operating together. Have you seen metaverse companies arriving? Anyone in talks with you guys?
Well, there have been some interest in the metaverse, particularly from a regulatory point of view, because it's still quite very in the air. But so it will be interesting to see a different, perhaps more regulation. But I think it would be very difficult, I think you'd agree, to have a singular global regulation.
So this would be other companies coming together. It's not a one size fits all. It's requiring more kind of tailor-made solutions.
Look, it's hard. Metaverse as a concept is very interesting. It's exciting for us. We did have quiz and we worked with some clients on it. However, when it comes to regulation, because we're regulatory people, so we look at it from the legal side. Metaverse doesn't do away with any form of licensing. So Metaverse is just sort of a duplication of our real world. But if you're offering gaming services in Metaverse, you still need to be regulated, obviously. And that's maybe something that wasn't very clear from the very beginning. People were hoping that Metaverse is this kind of virtual world where you can have a more lenient approach, so to speak, but it's not the case. Regulation is still required, same corporate structures are required, same framework, same laws, same GDPR rules apply. So,
Give me 27 billion reasons as to why regulation is required.
well, I'm just gonna say, look at the current industry, what's going on in the crypto industry. Crypto industry compared to the financial services industry is a little bit more volatile. Why? Because we're seeing scandals here and there. It doesn't mean they don't happen in the financial world, but since we're looking at an industry which is very unregulated in most parts of the world, these things can happen. Now, if you move to a regulated sphere, not only in Malta but also in other jurisdictions, you have more safeguards against, for example, using clients' money without their consent, protecting investors and their funds. So regulation does help. It can be seen as a cost. It can be seen as a hurdle for the operators. Ultimately, I see it as a protection both for the investor and also for the operator itself.
If you guys could go back in time, would you have ensured that from 2017, 2018, that their regulation would have come in at that point? Would you have lobbied for this?
Yes. I mean, I'm always an advocate for regulation, not because it's our job, but because we see the end result of it. So properly regulated firms, from our experience, work much better than those that are not. Ultimately, it results even in a marketing tool for the operator, because especially now, imagine nowadays, you have all these happenings in the crypto exchange industries. Imagine you go out there and you have a stamp of approval by a European regulator that you're a regulated entity and you really protect the assets of investors. It's a different marketing tool in itself.
Exactly. I mean, I believe there was an award during Sigma Awards that was about player protection, best in player protection. So I think people will always be looking for something like that.
And this is something to boast about. Yeah. Guys, this is not your first Sigma.
It's not our first Sigma, but it is our first Sigma, I think, in the gaming realm. Yes. We're mostly into crypto and fintech, so this is our way of venturing into the gaming wild.
This is your entry point. Wonderful. And you guys, you're based in Malta, love Malta. Do you want to give a few lines to promote Malta to companies and obviously to come to Zerafa when the time comes?
Well, we love the sun. We love. We have a lovely framework. Please, I think that's mostly what we can boast about.
And everything is in English here. Yeah. It's something that we underestimate, but when you take into account translation costs, all the different regulation costs, etc., English is a very big advantage.
Just talking about, before we finish, the framework and the licensing, there was a lot of companies who tried to get the crypto license. It was a long, arduous process. I only know one man who actually managed to achieve it, and just because he's the king of due diligence himself. Is it going to be simpler in the future?
Yes, very much. Mika simplified things a lot. So, as a jurisdiction, we decided to go for quite an onerous approach, which I agree with to some extent, especially in this industry. However, Mika will make things more approachable. Less initial capital is required, less sort of regulatory initial requirements are there. So definitely, it will make the industry much simpler.
Nicole Debrincat, Omar Zerafa, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you
Zerafa
very much.
Advocates.
Thank you.